Merry Christmas, Money Multipliers. Tomorrow is Christmas Day, so I'm all decked out in my festive gear. I'm excited. As this episode launches, I'll be down in Dallas hanging out with my grandparents and family for the holiday season. So this is just a time of year. It had me really thinking. This is the time where we need to reflect and kind of sit and just be quiet for a little bit. You know, one of the biggest things that I learned personally for myself is how important it is to stay present and remain grateful daily. I know those seem like super simplistic ideas and tasks that you could be doing, but it's a lot harder in practice, is it not? Because if you have this big to-do list, the chores list, all of these things that I got to do for my family or my business, you start to get a little anxious and discombobulated, right? And so instead of going into that frame of mindset, I always remind myself to get back to center, stay present, stay grateful, and it just totally changes my mindset that I can walk into things just not being fearful of them. And I know right now is the holiday season and y'all may have some family coming over or you're prepping and cooking, cleaning, different things. But I want to remind y'all, take the time to sit with yourself, think, just be quiet, reflect on this year. Think about it, like plants, animals, they all go through this hibernation period during the winter months, and then they bounce back twice as harder in the spring months. So I want y'all to take that same mindset with yourself and continue to just be grateful for where you're at in life right now. Don't compare your journey to anybody else's. And why I'm kind of thinking about this too is I came across like a Facebook post, and one of my best girlfriends, she actually sent it over to me, and I want to share it. Before we get into today's episode, I want to share it with y'all. How lucky am I to have the holidays to clean and prep for? How lucky am I to feel the weather change? How lucky am I to have a warm bed to rest in as the season change? How lucky am I to be swept up in a busy schedule? How lucky am I to have so much to look forward to? How lucky am I to have people to share these moments with? How lucky am I? So, Nagy and I, in today's episode, I kind of bring you along the journey of what we've been doing over these years since the inception of the Money Multiplier, where we're headed, goals for 2025. And think about it, y'all, especially pertaining to the infinite banking concept. Could you get all the money back for the presents that you're purchasing for your family this Christmas? Use your policy. That's a way that you can start incorporating other ways to bank with your policy. And if this is your first time that you're hearing of me, stop this video right now, go to themoneymultiplier.com, and underneath the resources tab, click presentation. And I would start there. Watch that 90-minute foundational, powerful presentation. And I'm telling you, it's worth it. Completely changed my life, my family's life, and our 17,000 clients in every single state of the country. Also, my gift too, reach out to me. I'll send you an ebook of Mapping Out the Millionaire Mystery. It's a book that my father and Chris Noggle, my business partner, wrote together. So my free gift to you for this holiday season. All right, let's get into today's episode with myself and Steve and Aggie. Hello, Money Multipliers. Welcome back to another episode of the Money Multiplier podcast. I'm your host, Hannah Kessler, and we asked ourselves, do our dollars make sense? So every week I'm here with a new episode. So if you're watching me on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. On all other streaming platforms for podcasts, subscribe, rate us 5 stars, and let me know your thoughts. Hey, that's how I think about all these topics, is the comments that y'all leave me on the YouTube and the podcast. So So, Merry Christmas, everybody. So, today is the day before Christmas, 12/24, as this episode is launching. And I know in my last episode, I was down in Cape Coral with my brothers, and I said, okay, I'm trying to wrangle up my brothers and get them on the podcast. Yeah, that didn't work. They didn't sit down with me. So, we just ran out of time. So, I have my brother from another mother here, Mr. Stephen Nagy. So, what's going on, Stephen? Thanks for joining me.
Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas. Yes, I love it. I love the getting festive and celebrating the holidays. If any of you guys watch any of our other shows, we ask me anything every Wednesday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern on the Chris Noggle YouTube channel, Private Money Club, and the rest. And I like to get the troops all festive. So the different holidays, we're dressing up and having fun and celebrating. So I love that this is coming out on Christmas Eve. Christmas is one of my favorite times of the year for so many different reasons. And whether it comes to family, whether it comes to just, kind of resetting right before the new year, being able to reflect on the year prior. And I know we're going to talk about some of that stuff today, Hannah. So super excited to be here and talk with all the money multipliers again.
It was kind of funny. I was getting ready this morning and I was reflecting. Last Christmas, my mother made us write a whole paragraph on what Christmas means to us. And we had to sit around the kitchen table and we had to share it. And at first I was like, oh my gosh, mom, this is kind of cheesy. But I loved it because I just went back like yesterday and I was rereading that paragraph of what Christmas means to me. And it's an important time. It's an important time to slow down and reflect, especially because of us here in America. We love toxic work mentality, in my opinion. We're all work, 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 go, go, go. And it's important to take some time to be with your family, hibernate for a little bit. So, in today's episode, I kind of want to get into the history of the money multiplier. I thought this would be kind of fun because some people, they have been around for a long time, ever since my father started teaching this in 2012. And we have people that we literally just met this year. And I know our team has evolved over time and we got different leadership positions and different things. And I thought it would just be kind of fun to walk through the history of the money multiplier, the ups and downs of building the business, what we've learned. And maybe this is something that you can take and start incorporating into your businesses too. So before we get into it though, Stephen, the last time I had you on, I know you shared your background of where you came from, your college days, being a financial advisor. But real quick, share the story of how you met Chris Noggle and how, because that's how we met. We know each other through Chris Noggle.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, and before I met Chris Noggle, and obviously you guys, Hannah, I didn't know anything about infinite banking. And I think I kind of briefly hit on this last time, how I kind of felt like it was more of a gimmicky thing. I didn't really realize the power of it. And so, when I met Chris, I kind of had my guard up a little bit. But, if I roll back to that time, at the time before I met Chris, I was actually working with a guy named Greg Hurling, who owns a company called Horizon Trust Company, which a lot of you guys might be familiar. They do the self-directed IRAs where you can control your retirement dollars, take an old 401k and take control of that money so now we can self-direct it into alternative investments, things like real estate investing, which is, the foundation of my financial world and many other people. And so I was working with Greg Hurling at Horizon Trust. Prior to that, I was working with Greg Hurling on a company we were partnered in, doing Amazon, trading in Amazon stores and online e-commerce businesses. And so I had known Greg for several years. We had a great relationship and did a lot of really cool things in business. And Greg had met Chris through various masterminds and programs that Chris had attended with Larissa, his wife, when they were getting into real estate investing and came out with the show Risky Builder. Greg Hurling was actually one of Chris Noggle's first private money lenders, which a lot of people don't realize, but that's how Greg and Chris met. Was Chris was a real estate investor, needed money, and Greg was a business owner and private money lender and had money, and he ended up lending him money, and they ended up, kicking it off from there and doing multiple deals together and started some business together and things like that. But at the time, this was back in 2019, Chris was taking his kind of momentum from having the show Risky Builders and doing 240 some real estate flips and really that momentum of being a real estate investor and said, you know what, I want to turn this into a national brand. I want to be able to go out there and share what, my wife and I have been able to do over the last several years in real estate investing and share that with the world, share that with people all across the country. And Chris, if you guys know Chris Nogley, has a very unique way of teaching and being able to explain complicated subjects in a pretty simple way. And I think at the end of the day, that's why Chris is so good at educating in the infinite banking concept, because, infinite banking has so many different moving pieces and there's so much to it. And it can be so complicated, but it can also be very simple. And Chris has a very, very unique way of being able to say, okay, let me show you how this is done in a very simple way. So anyway, so I said, you know what? I really like what Chris has done, his background. He seems like a really good guy. I think he's got a really cool teaching style. In my background, if you remember back when we talked about after leaving as a financial advisor, I got into that financial education world of doing seminars, of doing, self-help type stuff and things like that. And so, Greg Hurling said, listen, Chris, you want to launch this national brand doing these seminars, these educational courses. Steven's been doing it for almost 15 years. You guys should get together and launch this company. And that's exactly what we did with Money School back in 2019. So, I remember one of the first times I met Chris, it was he was at an event speaking in Scottsdale, Arizona. It was actually noteworthy, which, I think we're actually going
Yeah.
to be at with the Money Multiplier here coming up in February. But it
Anaheim.
was yeah, right. And so it was that noteworthy in Scottsdale, Arizona. And so that was the first time I actually sat down and met Chris. We were there at the event together. We were sitting there, talking afterwards at the bar and things like that. And actually, just kind of bring it full circle. That's actually the first discussion we ever had also about Private Money Club. So not only did Chris and I ultimately become partners that day, but we also ended up, co-founding and launching Private Money Club together from that day as well. So long story short, thank you to Greg Hurling, introducing Chris Noggle and myself, who have gone on to do really cool things. That obviously, where I met you, Hannah, and your dad, Brent, and the whole, Money Multiplier organization and just the incredible people. Like you said, it's grown a lot over since 2012, but just the solid foundation of people you guys have put in place, it's just been a beautiful thing. So that's
Yeah.
where it all started.
And what we've learned too, because, back in the day, my first ever job was actually being a CA, a front desk lady at one of Dad's chiropractic offices, and I would hook the patients up to their therapies and enter in all the notes into the Silk One software and write all the record keeping and the filing systems, because we actually had the physical files back then, until everything went digital, right? And what's funny is that the business of the Money Multiplier really does mimic the same business as running a chiropractic office. And what I've noticed is that a lot of businesses are very, very similar in how they operate and how they run. There may be little tiny nuances, but a lot of them run in the same manner and same fashion. And because us back in the day, and I'm not going to go too deep into our story, as y'all know, right? My dad heard about this concept back in '06, that it was too good to be true, didn't start till 2008. And then at that time, started his first policy, had almost $1 million in debt. And a lot of people ask me this question. Here's just a little tidbit. A lot of people ask me, hey, Brent had almost $1 million of debt. So where did he start his first policy at? It was $2,000 a month. That's all he could afford at the time. He was doing a monthly premiums. But anywho's, fast forward, he was still in the office treating the patients, and he had multiple clinics. He had different associate docs in the other clinics, like in Tonganoxie, Kansas, and Ottawa, Kansas, right there in Olathe, where I grew up, in Overland Park. But, people would be coming in, and when the patients would come in, Brent was just so passionate about this that he started telling the patients about privatized banking. And at that point, too, he was also even a chiropractic coach. He was working with his mentor. His name is Dr. Eric, now lives in Switzerland, but he was coaching chiropractors how to run their business, how to market, how to use the systems. And through that comes the biggest part when it comes to our money talk is the banking business, how we finance those purchases or how we're putting the money back into the business or taking the money home to our family. And so that's where Brent started to talk a lot about banking to the chiropractors. So that's when in 2012, Dad got licensed because his old mentor called him up and he said, "Hey, Brent, I mean, this year you referred me over 41 new people into this system." And Dad was kind of making the joke and he says, "Well, you haven't paid me a single dime on any of that business." And he said, the other gentleman on the phone, he says, "Well, Brent, no, I'm being serious. You really have a passion for this. You're teaching it the right way. You should consider going out there, getting your life license and start teaching this to other people." So that's where it all started. It was because we were practicers of this concept and we were just spreading the message, and it just became so influential and powerful that Brent's kind of made like a career change. He says, "Hey, this chiropractic stuff was fun. I've been doing this for a long, long time, but I kind of want to do something else." And I think a lot of people kind of get to that point. I talk to a lot of people who get to that point. I mean, Nagy, for you, or even like yourself, you have gone through different career changes in your lifetime.
Yeah, 100%.
So that's when we started teaching. It was in 2012. Then 2017, that's when Brent's old mentor passed. And so what happened is mom and dad came together. And back at that time, 2017, Dad was selling his chiropractic offices. He really didn't want to run them anymore. And he was in these seller agreements with the docs there. And so Dad comes to mom and says, "Hey, so what are your thoughts about starting our own agency? Will you help me build my agency?" Because back in the day, my mother, she ran the billing business in the chiropractic office. She would do all the billings for those offices and even other doctors outside of, our practices that we had. And so mom already sold her billing business and she's like, "Honey, but I'm supposed to be the trophy wife. I don't want to create any new businesses right now. Are you kidding me? You really want to do this?" And so that's when they joined the forces. And then in 2017 started the Money Multiplier. And let me tell y'all, last thing, the Money Multiplier, how we came up with that name, it was in the back of a taxi cab. And we were just talking and writing things through and kind of penciling things out. And my mother goes, "The Money Multiplier. Why not the Money Multiplier?" And that's when all the lights went off. And that's how we came to the name of the Money Multiplier. Because isn't it kind of sexy when you go around and tell people, "Hey, the name of my company is the Money Multiplier"? They're like, "Ooh, what are you into? What do you do?"
I love it. I didn't know that about the taxi. That's cool.
Yeah. So at that time in 2017, right? I don't even think I was a part of the business quite yet. I was kind of getting into it. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. Because again, I was like 17, 18 years old back then. But it was Brent being the agent. It was Jonah Dew on the implementation team. And Jonah Dew is still around. Y'all go follow him, the banking bros, him and his brother Jeremiah Dew. Um, so it was Jonah on the implementation team, Brent being the agent, and it was Joe who was the application person. And that's where it started. And now, fast forward to 2024, where we're at now, we have 13 people on the application team, and that's all that they do is processing the applications. We have 6 people on the implementation team. And then you, Nagy, really what I've learned over these years, and I won't get too deep into it right now, but your main focus is you really head up the agent onboarding, the training, the webinars, and different things. And I don't know, what would you say? How many money mentors do we have on the team up to this point?
Yeah, I mean, I think well over a dozen, 15 certified Nelson Nash Infinite Banking Practitioner certified agents now. We probably have another I don't know, 75 or so that are kind of in the background, just sharing the word here and there, cases here and there. I mean, it just continuously, every day, I get inquiries about wanting to partner with us, wanting to refer business with us, wanting to be an agent with us and really get involved. And it just seems to be really exploding. And it's really a cool thing. But Hannah, what I'd like to do maybe is just take a kind of step back. And like you mentioned, you started the agency in 2017 and the implementation and the agents and the applications. And I don't think a lot of people realize what really goes into this business and how it actually works. And I think that'll be a good conversation because you have all these different names. You have BYOB, you have Money Multiplier, you have One America, you have Lafayette Life, you have different insurance carriers. So if you don't mind, can we just kind of break that down for people? Because I think it's something that even being in the insurance industry, like I didn't even realize exactly everything it takes to have a successful policy go through. And I think that's what's made us so good at this is having such a solid process. So can we talk a little bit about that?
Yes, yes. And before we get into that, because I'll have you lead that. But here's the number one thing that I want to point out. How we've grown the team up to this point or why folks have came on is because they were clients of ours first. They were doing this. They were practicing this concept. They started to find their passion, and that's how they evolved to being a money mentor and doing the things that they're doing now. So you got to practice what you preach. I don't care what business you're in, you got to be practicing what you're preaching. So
Yeah, 100%. And that's the key word. It doesn't matter what business you're in. You have to practice what you preach because you got to believe in it. You got to believe in what you're selling or what you're offering or what your service is. You have to believe in it like wholeheartedly. Like you have to have a passion for it, in my opinion, to be successful. So regardless of what you get into, like have a passion for it. Like I was fortunate at a young age to realize my passion was just people, like working with people, helping people. I come from a broken home at the same time. Anyways, long story. Maybe one day I'll get it. But
I would
it's
hear
just
that
really
story at some
interesting. It's
point.
different sides of the fence, right? And it's like you see that at a young age, you kind of realize what you like, and then if you're a fortunate person, you realize that at a younger age. I can't tell you how many people I talk to that are in there they're retired or approaching retirement or at the age where they're retiring and they're like, I've worked my whole life, but I've never really loved what I've done. Like I've never like now I'm starting to learn like I have a passion for this or that or X or Y. And awesome. Well, how can we support you and drive you to follow that passion? And if you can do that earlier in life, the better. But to me, that's what life's all about. And you know what, before I get into the company stuff too, Hannah,
Yeah.
I want to share like kind of what really clicked for me and what made me really buy into IBC. And I don't think I've ever told this before because
Okay.
it's kind of embarrassing in a way, but so I'll just share it. All right. So the caveat here is when I first started a policy, it was when COVID was hitting and I did have some debt in my life. So my first policy, I really focused on using that to pay off debt. And so one of my biggest things when I talk to people about IBC is, how would you like to be able to pay off your debt this much quicker while still building wealth. And that's such a powerful thing in and of itself. But then once the debt's paid off, okay, well, now what? Well, that's when I started doing some private lending. I didn't have the time to do any active real estate any longer. We had private money club going. So I was seeing all these great opportunities. So I was like, hey, listen, I can start getting into some of these deals on the passive side. And I just started using my policy money to do that. So now I'm making the returns on my private lending and I have the money over here compounding and growing for me. So that's all great. That's all wealth building stuff, financially smart stuff. That's great. It's just not exciting to me. Like, I just bought a truck with one of my policies. I'm looking at a boat next year I'm going to use with a policy. So it's like, I'm using my policies for all the things we teach about. But here's what really kicked it off. And what made me think about this was Christmas is tomorrow. Okay, so here's the secret. I love wasting money. It sounds horrible. I'm like the worst person when it comes to budgeting. Okay. I like to be financially smart, but I'm not financially smart all the time, especially when it comes to budgeting and not buying dumb stuff. I love buying dumb stuff. Ask my wife. She'll tell you that the tchotchkes and the things I buy, if you name a hobby, I probably own all the equipment for that hobby, even though I never actually do the hobby. But anyways, so there's a little secret about myself. But here's what I love about infinite banking is it allows me now to buy things, whether it's gifts at Christmas, whether it's frivolous things for myself, whatever. It allows me to buy things and not feel as guilty about it. Why? Because when I buy something, I know that I'm just using my policy money to buy it. And eventually I'm going to pay back that policy. But here's what's going on. Even when I make that purchase, that money's still in my policy, compounding and growing. And what I've been starting to do, Hannah, is I'm starting to use, now that I've been doing this for 4 years, I'm using my older policies for those kinds of purchases. Why? Because my money's been in the policy long enough now where the compounding is exceeding the interest I'm paying on those loans. So it's now irrelevant to me. And I'm using my newer policies for lending where I'm making the spread to make up for the loss in the early years. So I'm trying to be smart about it. But what it's allowed me to do is, so at Christmas right now, I'm buying all kinds of stuff because it's like, why not? I'm using my older policy for this where the money's compounding and growing. I'm going to be able to pay myself back in a few months. So why not? The money's there. Something happens to me, the death benefit, everything like that, it's still there. It's not like I'm losing the money out of my financial life for my family in the future. So that's the dirty little secret. I love spending. I love buying things. And now I'm able to do so without feeling guilty. So thank you, BYOB, Infinite Banking, for that alone. Is that fair enough, Hannah?
Yes. Wait. I gotta tell you this though. Okay, so last night I was out at dinner. There's this place called Hooligans that's local here to Daytona Beach. And
Mhm.
this popped up. You know how like you're sitting in a booth, they got the little TVs at like the sports bars? I hope you can see this. This popped up. A
Trumpy
Trumpy
trout. Oh,
trout.
no.
That's the stupid shit that I like to buy
Oh,
too. And I'm like, I don't know
no.
who I'm going to get this for, but one of my family members is going to get this.
Is it bad? I'm typing this in right now to go buy it when we get off here.
TrumpyTrout.com.
All right. So shout out to TrumpyTrout.com. And ironically, the last podcast we did was before the election, and now the election's over and we have a new president. So pretty wild.
That's true. That's true too. Yeah. So no, good. Something else that I was thinking about too. Now you got my mind on stupid crap. Last thing, you know what I love about Florida? Buc-ee's. Buc-ee's has so much stupid shit in there, but I love it.
Those gas stations. Yes. If you don't know what a Buc-ee's is, if you're ever on the East, I think they're all over the East Coast now, but
Are
I
they?
know there's a
Okay.
bunch in Florida now, a couple in Florida, but definitely check one out. It's a giant Walmart of a gas station, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Costco, maybe they're like samples, things like that. Yeah, pretty wild stuff. And I could give you 100 reasons I love Florida, and Bucky's might not be on that list, but I'm glad it's on there for you.
So take us down. Where should we start exploring first?
Well, here's what I didn't realize, and I think people like want to hear this. So you hear us talk a lot about the different insurance companies, insurance carriers that we use that ultimately your policy is with. So if you want to look at this as like a ladder, like a hierarchy, you're going to have the insurance carriers basically on the top, okay? So they're the ones when you start a life insurance policy, the contract is going to be with that company. They're the ones that are promising the policy is going to do what it says it's going to do. They're the one, it's a mutually owned insurance company. So that way, when you buy the policy, you're a part owner of the company. So basically, the dividend, how your policy grows, are the policy profits that you're getting back through the dividend. That's why it's all tax-free growth within the policy. So it starts at the top with the company. And again, that's what we do as an agency, as the Money Multiplier, is we say, okay, there's all these different insurance companies, insurance carriers in the country. Which ones are the best of the best to do what we want them to do for the infinite banking concept?
Yeah.
So we want to make sure they have a long track record of consistently paying strong dividends because again, that's how our money grows tax free. Okay. So the companies we use, check. They've been around for 150, 180, 200 plus years. They've been doing this every year for that time. They paid out consistent, strong dividends. Okay. What do their financials look like today? All right. They're well diversified. They're in what they should be and they have a strong track record. Again, they're doing
A
smart
plus.
things, all
Come
of it A plus plus rated, by the third party rating systems, all that stuff. All right. So this is all stuff we look at. So when we're looking at policies, do they allow us to borrow money from the policy without the growth being affected? What's called non-direct recognition. In most cases, we want to go with that. So all these different things we look into. Do they allow us to do dump-ins into the policy? Do they allow us to have the growth that we want? All that kind of stuff. All right. So it starts at the top, but here's the caveat with that is me as an independent insurance agent. I can't just go to One America, for example. One America is one of the companies we use a lot. We write a lot of policies with. A lot of you might have policies with One America. So I can't go as an independent agent directly to One America and say, hey, I want to start writing infinite banking policies with you guys. they're going to say, no, 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 no. You gotta have this, you gotta have that, you gotta have an agency, you gotta have all these records, you gotta have a history, you gotta have financials, you gotta have bonds, you gotta have all this stuff for them to contract with you. Okay. So then me as an independent agent, I'm like, well, all right, well, how do I work with One America? Well, One America is going to say, okay, well, we have a career you can start with us where you go on and they teach you basically how to be a corporate insurance agent for them. But here's the thing is are they going to let you just do infinite banking or teach you how to do infinite banking? No. They're an insurance company. They sell all kinds of different products and all kinds of things that are much more profitable for them than what an infinite banking whole life policy does. So they're going to train you and teach you on the things that they want you to train and teach on and sell. I experienced this firsthand as a financial advisor with Ameriprise Financial. They taught me what they wanted me to sell, and that's it. All right. So I can't just go do this on my own. So then you say, okay, well, how would I, as an independent agent, offer infinite banking? Okay, well, that's where the agency comes in. So the agency, the money multiplier, they're the ones who have the contracts with these insurance companies, these insurance carriers that now allow us to write policies. So me as an independent agent, I have to have a contract with an agency. So in this case, the money multiplier. Okay. And then the money multiplier can have sub agencies and have all its agents underneath it and all that good stuff. So the agency now can control all this. Okay. So now that the agency has the contract with the insurance carriers, and that allows us now to choose which is the best carrier for you as the client to have the best success for whatever you're trying to accomplish. So now we aren't even just pigeonholed into one company. We can pick from a bunch of different companies, whatever fits your positions the best way. All right. So that's what we do as an agency. Now, the agency has all these agents underneath of it. All right. But agents also need support and help. So that's where the money multiplier says, okay, we have all these agents that are talking with clients and talking about their goals and their dreams and what infinite banking can do for them. And they're going to design the policy for the client. But that client also needs to be approved for this policy. Remember, these are whole life policies. So there's full medical underwriting, meaning in most cases, you're going to go through a medical exam, or maybe it's one of these flex policies where you can skip a medical exam, but they're still going to ask all these medical questions and they're going to look at your doctor's records and your health records. And, they're going to look into you, make sure you're healthy, make sure you're not going to die tomorrow, essentially. Okay. So who's going to do all that? Well, the agents are busy designing policies and illustrations and working with the clients. So the money multiplier, genius, you guys are very, very smart here, Hannah. They said, okay, well, what if we create a team that does all the applications and works with the insurance carrier underwriters for the agent? And that's where they created the application team, which you heard Hannah mention earlier. It started with Joe, and now there's 13 application specialists, and they're led by Sandra Fry. So Sandra leads up the application team and makes sure that that whole process goes smoothly for the clients with the insurance carrier, and everything comes out the back end, with the success. And so you have that whole application team. Go ahead.
And real quick too, shout out to Sandra Fry. Actually, for a quick background for my people, Sandra Fry has been around for a long, 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 long time. She was actually one of Dad's first ever clients back in 2012. She was actually working for another chiropractor up in Pennsylvania, being a CA up there. And she started her policies, her and Mike Fry. Some of y'all know may talk to Mike. Mike's a mentor on the team, but they've been doing this for a long, 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 long time, 12 plus years, have 10 plus of their own policies. But so Sandra heads up and really manages the application team, and she's a godsend. I kind of make this joke, which I should probably stop saying, but I say, Sandra, if you quit tomorrow, I'm quitting tomorrow. She is like my right hand. So shout out Sandra Fry.
Yeah, it's awesome. And so involved with all that application and everything, of course, is sensitive data, sensitive personal information, social security numbers and, financial numbers and all this stuff. So then the agency is also responsible for storing and keeping all that data safe. So there's all kinds of compliance behind it and all kinds of rules and regulations we have to abide by. So again, me as an independent agent, like even if I could go directly with an insurance carrier, like how am I going to do all that myself? And so I'm just kind of explaining the importance of why these agencies exist and why the money multiplier has been able to do what it's done and scale and grow the way it has, and why we're set up in 2025 and forward to be able to really grow and bring on a lot more business because of the structure of all of this. But then you got to think, Hannah, okay, well, now that somebody has a plan, they have a policy, they're approved for it, they're putting their premiums and starting this policy. Well, now what do they do with it? What happens if they want to change their premium amount? What if they want to change something with the policy? What if they want to take a loan from it? What if they're done paying off debt and now they want to use it for something else? Well, who's going to help them with that? And that's where, again, where the Kesslers were genius. And they said, okay, well, what if we have the money multiplier supply an entire team that does nothing but help clients and serve clients on a daily basis to help them use their policies, to help them make adjustments, to show them not only what IBC can do for them, but say, hey, this is what IBC can do for you in your personal situation. Here's your debt plan. Here's your plan for investing. Here's the plan for buying a truck and recapturing all the money for it. So that's exactly what the implementation team is they're not only, showing them how to fish, but they're teaching them how to fish so you can go out there and do it time and time again. And so we now have the implementation team that's led by Larry, and they've done an incredible job. So you give a shout out to Larry, maybe.
I'll do a shout out to Larry too. He's a vet. Okay. So I love him because he's just so straight to the point. And what I love about him too is that I actually just recently sat in on one of the implementation mapping meetings they had with one of my clients. And I love that he asked the questions. He just always asks, he says, hey, so this base premium and the paid up edition riders, do you understand the differences between them? He's not just giving you the information, he's asking you that question so that you can recite it back and then retain it. Because I know if you go to like any college lectures, I don't retain a whole lot of the information if people are just throwing up all over me. So Larry has been around, I think now going on 4 years, and he's a Missouri boy. So we bond over the Kansas City Chiefs. So shout out to Larry.
Yeah, absolutely. Larry does a great job, and his whole team does for sure. And so now we have someone that's helping with the underwriting. We have somebody in the agency that's helping with all the servicing and teaching the clients how to fish and use infinite banking. We have the agents that are really solving the clients' problems and making sure that they, get the policy enforced and they're happy with everything. But then it leaves, okay, well, how do you, as the client, how do you, learn about infinite banking? Like, how do you get introduced to all this stuff? And then so now we have content creators, we have marketers, we have teams that go out there and do that. I mean, if you're listening to this right now, you've probably met Hannah at a live event. Hannah flies all over the country and speaks on stages of either our events that we host or other people's events that we're keynote speakers at and things of that nature. You have Chris Noggle, who puts out a new piece of content almost every single day on YouTube, for example. You have Devin Burr over on Instagram, putting out all kinds of content on Instagram, and lots of people out there doing this kind of thing. And so these are what we call our content creators, our internal marketers, our referral partners in many cases. Christy Van, fantastic on YouTube, does a lot with the HELOC banking and velocity of money and moving money. And, she talks about infinite banking, and all of anybody that says, hey, I'm interested in infinite banking, they just come right over to our team, and our money mentors hop on a call. The money mentor's an agent. The agent solves the problem, passes it to Sandra and the application team. Once it's approved, it goes to Larry and the implementation team, and now they're a client for life. And it's just a really cool system that we have in place. And one thing that really stuck out to me, Hannah, when I first started working with you guys, and one of the things that really was like, okay, my people, was the fact that everything I just talked about right there, we don't charge a dime for any of it to you as the client. So it's all free of charge. So all the servicing and the teaching and the content and the education and everything that we do, all these training videos on YouTube and everything else, it's all free of charge. We don't charge anything for any of that. And I'm a big believer in that. The more you give, the more you get. And if you guys follow Noggle, you hear him talk about this all the time. And it's also one of the reasons me and Noggle had such a strong bond at the beginning, because we have a very similar mindset. It's about the client first and foremost, no matter what. Even if we lose money up front, we know sometime in the future it'll come back to us, but we always do things right the first time. And so the fact that we don't charge for any of that, I think is just such an amazing thing. And the part that really brought it home for me was the fact that if you look at all of our clients, anybody that's been with us for over a year, right at 90%, it's a little bit more now, I believe, of those clients have started additional policies with us or referred more business to us, over 90%. So that just goes to show that from the very beginning of them learning about infinite banking, what we tell them, what we tell clients is going to happen, does happen and all of that support and help and everything we provide, that they feel confident enough to do more business with us or refer more business to us in the future. To me, that's such a wonderful thing, and it's what's allowed this company to be what it is and become the number one IBC company in the country.
Yeah, yeah. And we're going to keep going that direction because I guess, Stephen, we're here at the end of 2024. 2025. So some of the things that we're doing, we're kind of shifting. We're doing a little bit of different things for 2025. And one of the biggest things that we're shifting is we're going to be doing our own events. I know I always have my mastermind event that we do, but coming up in March, y'all know I have the Money Game Live event coming out, which, Stephen, I didn't ask you, but we're on air right now. You're coming to that.
I'll be there.
You're coming to that. And you're going
I'll
to
be there. I'll be in Tampa. Let's go.
I'm going to put you on the speaker lineup. So Steven's going to be there. Go to moneygamelive.com and you can register, secure your spot because, hey, I'm telling you right now, this is my only discount that's out. So right now you can get $100 off of the GA ticket or $300 off of the VIP ticket. And this just until supplies last. And I'm not doing any more discounts. So go and snag your ticket if y'all are showing up. But anywho's, for 2025, we're going to be pivoting more to doing our own events instead of going out to other people's events, which we'll still be doing, but probably not as many. What are your main focuses that you're looking at for 2025?
Yeah, I love it. And we actually just talked about this and we're gonna, for example, with Private Money Club, twice a year we do an event called Money Tank. And it does focus primarily on real estate investing and private lending and that whole world. But we do talk a lot about infinite banking during Money Tank. But what we're gonna do for 2025 is we're actually gonna add a bonus day on the back end of Money Tank that's strictly for advanced infinite banking principles. So we're gonna tie in investing in business and entrepreneurship with advanced infinite banking at these new 2025 Money Tank events, which I'm super excited about. We have the experience coming up in Sundance, and you're coming to that, right,
I'll
Hannah?
be there in
So
February.
Sundance, we probably still have tickets the day, when this comes out on Christmas Eve, but we're only going to do one experience this year. So the experience is our flagship event that Chris Noglin and I done now for 3 years, where we go out with a small group of 20, 25 people, and instead of being in a ballroom or being in an event space, learning from stage speakers, we're out in the real world doing activities together and bonding and building relationships. So we're doing it at Sundance Resort in Utah, which is uh, the most beautiful place in this country I've ever been to by far. But we're going to be doing either skiing or snowboarding. There's the spa there. There's all kinds of craft. There's all kinds of different activities. So each day we're going to be doing different things together where we're learning and we're building relationships. So that's going to be a really neat one. So highly recommend. Hannah, I know you're going to be there as well. So that's going to be a really cool event. But then on the agency side of things for Money Multiplier, we're really focusing on technology right now. So we
Yeah.
have what's called agent software coming out, which is going to be allow all of our agents to manage their clients, manage their relationships that much better. Right now, we're building out a lot on the back end on the tech side for communication with our clients. So just making sure we're in closer communication, more personalized communication with you. So we're setting all that up right now. Really focusing on what does this client experience look like and how can we do better as agents and as an agency. We want to continue getting better and better.
That's it. That's it. And as well, the I team, we are revamping the tools. I don't even think I talked about that here on the pod. I've been petting Monroe. Monroe's been at my feet and she always gets hair everywhere. But on the implementation team, we are going to be implementing the new tools. So for some of y'all that have been following Chris Noggle, the Debt Blaster, the Gains Projector, those are the tools that are going to start being implemented during the course of somebody starting and being a client of the Money Multiplier. So I'm very excited for that because, the tools that we have and that we've been using, they've been great. They've been working, but it's almost like a system update, right? You always got to go through like from time to time and get a big system update. And that's what we're doing. We're just doing some revamping over here.
That's it.
Also, I want to share this real quick because I still get this message sometimes to this day, and I get why I get this message, but sometimes people will reach out to me and they'll say, hey, I've been watching you, Brent and Hannah, but then I've also been seeing Chris Noggle out there on YouTube. And are you guys a part of the same company? Do you get those emails too, Stephen?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So let's just add some clarification here. All right, long story short, yes, we're one big family. And if you haven't heard the whole origin story, I'm not going to get deep into it right now, but when Chris used to up in Buffalo at the mall, okay, he doesn't have that office anymore, but in the mall, he would gather all of the real estate investors together, and he had this academy called Flip Out Academy, and he'd teach folks about fixing and flipping properties and a whole bunch of different real estate investment things. And myself and dad would go up there and we would teach to his audience about banking. So Chris has been around for a long, long time, and he's been practicing this concept for a long time. And I won't get deep into it now, but Chris actually tried to debunk the infinite banking concept when we first met him, but story for another time. So we're here and we're one big family. But what I've really noticed as we evolve over these years, because we have just been doubling. What I think is crazy, and what I've been noticing, especially in the mindset shift of the public, is people are getting more in tune with their finances. They're not just leaving it up to the government or their employer to other people to control. They're like, hey, I see what's going on with my parents. They can't afford their lifestyle. They're like 87 years old and they can't get out and go work, but they need to. And so I got to come in and support them because their retirement plan didn't play out how their financial advisor was telling them is going to play out, right? So I one thing I've noticed over the course of the years, and the why we have been doubling in growth every single year, is because the financial literacy and the knowledge is going up. And I think that has to do with a lot of the social media, the YouTubes, the TikToks, and different things. I think that's one really beneficial thing that we have here in today's day and age. But it's so interesting to see where we started off to where we're at now, because here's kind of how I think about the money multiplier. We are almost set up just like an insurance company, if you really think about it, because you have Sandra, or I'll even go before that. You have the money mentors, right? The money mentors are the agents. At the insurance company, you got the agents, you got the people that go out there and solicit your product, right? So those are in alignment. Then you got Sandra. Once you have a prospect and they say, yeah, I'm ready, I want to get approved for my policy, that's when they get handed off to Sandra, the application team. Or at the insurance company, it's called the new business team, right? But then once the policy goes active, that's when it gets handed off to the implementation team over here at the Money Multiplier. Well, what do you think happens when that policy goes in force? Now at the insurance company, when the policy goes in force, it gets transferred over to the policy servicing team. So policy servicing team equals the implementation team here at the Money Multiplier. So it's really cool because this thing is going to keep going. And one thing in thoughts that I'm going to take with me in 2025. Here are the two biggest things I've been thinking about recently as we revamp and do some transitions and changes within our business is number one, not how can I get this done, but who can I have help me get this task done? Who, not how. Then the second thing I think about is, can this be automated? I really love the fact that where we're at right now, things can be automated and systematized, but I never want to stray away from the human nature and that human touch too. And that's always like a gray line that I think a lot of businesses and people are always trying to walk across. So I'm
Yeah,
excited.
you're spot on, Hannah. I mean, there's only so many hours in a day. There's only so many things one person can do, unless you're Elon Musk. I don't understand him at all, how he
He's
does
not a
everything he
human.
does. Yeah, I don't think he's human either, honestly. And that's maybe that's our next podcast is Elon Musk really an alien? Because I think we could definitely talk for an hour about that. But nonetheless, it does get to a point where you do need to, have support, have other people helping, and that's where a team does become so important. And like you said, when Chris first started doing this, Chris would talk about infinite banking, And then he would get on the call with the client and he would help them and he would create their policy and do all the agent stuff. And then Chris started saying, okay, well, if I can't talk with all these clients, I have too many people wanting to come do policies. So he said, hey, Steven, can you start talking to the clients for me? So Chris would do the content and the clients would come to me and I would I would be the agent. I would be the money mentor that we now call it today. I'd be the agent doing the policies. And then it got to the point where, hey, Chris, I can't do all these calls myself. There's too many people coming in. We need to build a team. And so that's where we started saying, okay, let's find the best of the best clients we have that want to be agents, make sure they understand and buy into our system, our values, our core mission that we have at BYOB Money Multiplier, and let's teach them and train them to be what we call money mentors. And so now when somebody watches a Chris Naugle YouTube show or even Hannah, they hear you speak at one of your events, a lot of times you'll send what we call our round robin team, which is our internal money mentor team. And they're the ones that are ultimately serving as the agent now. And so, you just got to grow. Now, with growth comes a lot of risk because what if the people you're bringing into the organization that are helping that you care so much about, what if they're not doing things the right way? And that's where, really being selective, being careful, comes into play. And that's what I love about what we have right now, Hannah, going into 2025 is I feel like the team that we've built over the last year, 2 years is so solid and ready for the growth that we're going to have in 2025. So I just feel great about all of it.
I agree. I agree. So I will be back next week, y'all, too, with another episode. I know we got one more Tuesday left of the year. It's going to be on New Year's Eve, 12/31, baby. So I'll catch y'all next week there. But before we go, Steven, do you have anything else that you want to leave the listeners with? Any other tidbits? This is the
No,
last
man,
episode that you're going to be on in 2024. So choose your words wisely.
Merry Christmas. Come see us on the weekly webinars. We love doing them. We love when you have you there participating in the chat box. Don't hesitate to ever reach out. Hannah, I think I can safely say this for you as well. We're never too busy for our clients who become our friends, who become our family. Come see us at an event. Come out to one of the masterminds, one of the money tanks, the Money Master Live, wherever. We're out all of them. I'm going to do selective traveling, but enough traveling this year where we can get out, see everybody in person. To me, webinars are great. It's better than a phone call, but there's nothing better than being in a room with somebody, going out afterwards with them, going snowboarding, whatever the case might be. And by the way, you can buy our love. So like if you're ever like, hey, I'd love to spend a day with Steven or Chris or Hannah or whoever, bring us out. Let's go snowboarding, get a little condo on the mountain. People have done it in the past. Holler to Dexter Holiday, but Dexter's my man. He did that to us last year. So we can be bought. Our love can be bought. But no, seriously, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and really looking forward to working with everybody in 2025.
No, and I'm so excited. Hey, y'all, and go snag your tickets. Come see myself and Steven, moneygamelive.com, Tampa, Florida, March 1st and 2nd. So I will catch everybody then. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas, everybody. Until next week. Bye, y'all.